Hello and welcome to Pandora FMS. In this video, we'll show how to set and configure a history database for your Pandora FMS environment. In addition, we will explain how part of the maintenance executable of Pandora_DB database works. For all of that, you will need at least 2 instances, one with Pandora FMS installed. This one will be in charge of sending data to the second instance, which will work as a history with MySQL. Or if you wish so, you may use Persona. Keep in mind that both instances must have the same MySQL or Persona version. In case you need more instances to connect to the history one, the steps will be the same for each one of them. The history database is an enterprise feature used to store all past information, which is not used in recent date views, such as data older than 1 month. Those data migrate automatically to a different database, and they are stored in a variable time period of your choosing. Usually, if you have a pretty big environment, data are stored for 1 year, but you will be able to configure all of this later on. Thanks to the history database, the response of the database of the main node improves, and with that, all of the server features. Proceed with configuration. First, once you make sure you have the 2 machines that you will use, go to the history one. Once there, enter MySQL or Persona database with your credentials and create a new database. You may use the name you want. In our case, we will call it History Node 1. The following step is to provide the necessary permissions for the connection between node and history database to be possible. For that, give all permissions to the user on this database. Before doing this, create a user. You may call it as you wish. In our case, we will call it Node 1. After creation, use grant all privileges command to give permissions with the parameters you need: database name, database username, and database password, which you may modify and grant with by at the end. Once this is done, let's move on to the connection. Go to the console in section Configuration, Configuration History Database. Here, click on Enable History Database. Once enabled, enter the parameters you previously gave permissions to. In Host, enter the history database IP address. In Port, enter the port configured by the database manager used, either MySQL or Persona. In database name, enter the name of the database you created. As for database user, enter the user you gave permissions to. And finally, in database password, enter the password configured before. Once you have all parameters correctly configured, click Update. If everything was correct, you may see the 3 green dots with information about the connection made. Before leaving this console section, you may see here below the database custom configuration. We will explain some of the most important elements. In parameter data days old to keep in the active database, you may configure the days that you want all data to be saved in the database before being deleted. In section maximum history data age, you may configure up to how many days the history database will save those data from nodes. Automatic large table partitioning will partition all data into monthly files. That is, all data from every month into different files, 1 per month. This will help with simple data handling. And finally, the Enable History Events section is useful if you wish to send node event data to the history database. Now comes one of the most important sections, the configuration of Pandora FMS database maintenance tool, Pandora DB tool. Pandora FMS infrastructure doesn't require external maintenance, but it is very important to purge all data and keep the database as compacted as possible. Therefore, there is an essential tool for Pandora FMS proper functioning that is in charge of performing these tasks. This tool is included in Pandora FMS server package, so it must be run from a system where there is a Pandora FMS server installed. The Pandora_DB tool is essential for proper history database performance, since it will transfer old node data and purge those you don't need. And therefore its execution is scheduled in the system cron tasks with an hourly frequency. This configuration is done automatically in the tool installation, so it must be done manually, although you may see its configuration if you go to /etc/cron.hourly. Once you establish connection with the history database, wait for the time execution to check whether data are being transferred properly, or you may run Pandora DB manually if there is no process running. For that, use Pandora DB binary file and run it on Pandora FMS server configuration file. Once you run it, you will be able to see the whole process the tool performs. In the console, go to the menu and in section configuration, configuration performance, here you may see all Pandora DB configurable parameters. In addition to configuring each of the parameters, you may keep track of the tool's execution as well as its execution in the history database. It is essential to have a good configuration so that your environment is optimal and you have the best possible performance. Thanks to these tools and features, working with Pandora FMS is increasingly intuitive. And that was it for today's video. Don't forget it, if you like the video, smile, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Any suggestions, questions or ideas, please leave them in the comments below. Remember that if you're interested in trying Pandora FMS Enterprise, you may contact us to get a free 30-day trial. Thank you very much for your time, and we hope to see you on social media and in future learning videos.